Okay, hello. This is something new that I want to try out right now. Um, this is going to be me doing some of the drafting for my latest book that I'm writing at the moment. Um, and I'm going to be talking a little bit about it as I write. Um, so when I write, I use Google Drive. I've used this for a while now, for a couple of years. Mostly because I can pick up writing anywhere I like. I can start writing here, leave it, do some writing on my phone. I can pick things up and drop them as I want to. So I find it quite useful to use. I used to be quite picky about what I would use to write. There was one point where I would only write in Word, and I would only write if the page was formatted to look like a book, because I thought that helped my creativity. Then another point, I would only use Mac Text Edit because it had the minimum amount of distractions on it, very minimal kind of window. But now I've come around to the point where I've separated out the medium from the message. I've separated out what I do from how I do it, and I'm not quite so bothered about the medium in which I write, because the words are the most important thing, and however I can get the words down is the best way to write, really. It's a similar thing with music. There was a point where I was always writing and listening to music at the same time, but music has a tendency to inform how you think, how you write, and what you're doing. And I thought, well, it's a bit too much influence. And at the moment now, I'm kind of in a position where, I can pretty much write in silence. It's quite nice, helps me to focus a little bit. So here we can see on my Google Drive, I have folders set up for writing all the different projects that I'm working on at the moment. So here's a sort of a list of a few things, some submission letters and things like that. Anyway, so here's the folder Time Crimes, which is shared with my collaborator slash editor, so he can put comments onto all of the drafts. And you can see here, I started off, I had various different plans, various different notes. This is probably where it started off here. You'll notice that I've got, it's called Time Crimes, but that's just for the sake of something to call it, really. So you can see my first draft, of the first chapter, what became the prologue, and here we have the title, Time Crimes, or something like that. Had no idea, and I just wanted to start writing. So pretty much here, straight away, I started writing, and all of these notes and things were added later on to tell myself stuff. And this was just a first draft, getting things down, and then sort of writing through the first bit of the book. And it got to, where did we get to? Okay, so as Alice just gets to the school, and that's where we stopped on that particular draft, and I probably went and started another draft by that time. So let's just close that. I've got here Time Crimes Master Plan, which I hope that won't give away too many secrets yet. Or you can always pause that and have a look at my plans and things later. Here's some notes. Yeah, so here we go. So this is really how I started out. If we go down about halfway, you can see here. So this is how I started out with the story. This sentence. This is just me talking to myself on paper. This is what I tend to do. I tend to just write either longhand on paper or Google Drive, just to try and get some thoughts down, just to put something down on paper, something that I I can look back on just to talk to myself, basically. So I've got to ask myself questions, um, have sort of notes and things, and this is my kind of ideas, and a lot of those ideas are kept. A lot of the ideas are thrown away. I highlight stuff I think is important. I write myself little synopses, and this blue and red bit, this is me batting ideas backwards and forwards with my collaborator slash editor, Alistair, who is a primary school teacher, but he does a lot of literacy with his kids, and he likes to challenge them. He's test read a few of my books with his class, and again down here, this is just me keeping the red color, and this is just notes about the ongoing series. And as you can see, there you go. I've got a link here to an article on BBC News, and emails that I've written, and all sorts of things, character studies, and all sorts. So those are sort of some of my notes that I've been writing. So if we go in here, Season 1, Book 1, and we have Version 1, Version 2, Version 3 down here, and Version 4, which is what I'm currently working on. So I've got kind of the title Welcome to Yesterday, although it's not a great title. But this I have to call it something, so I've called it that, just so I can refer to it. And I separated it out by parts. I'm not really writing this one in chapters so much. It's different. I did start writing in chapters, but my editor suggested we could find a different way to structure it. So here I am. I'm writing in parts, with all sort of different bits and bobs going on. So here you've got the prologue, and this is the latest edit of the prologue. This is the one that I've probably put up on the website, and there you go. That's the whole of the prologue there, and that's kind of at the stage it's at this part of the writing. So at the moment I'm working on part 3. So we've had part 1 and 2, which I've uploaded most to the website, and I'm going to start working on part 3. I chose these little quotes quite late on in the day to head the different sections of the novel, because it's all to do with black holes, and they're learning about things like time travel and all sorts of things like this. And I thought it was quite a nice progression, nice way to move through the story. Have this progression of someone moving towards a black hole, or a particle moving towards a black hole, and what happens to it, and how this is kind of a metaphor for Alice being drawn into all these things, and all sorts of things. So I thought that was quite nice. It reminded me of stuff that I've seen in other sort of techno thrillers and stuff like that, and books that I loved reading when I was younger, and Michael Crichton and The Lost World, and all sorts of things. And I thought that was quite a nice way to represent the progression of the novel. We'll see if I keep it or not, but I don't know. So here we go. So this is a scene. This is the Monday or the Tuesday after Alice has been to the school for the second time, and I think in previous drafts this did start off with a little description of Alice and her coming in and all sorts of things, or it might have started with something else. I don't know, a description of Alice's school, and then this came a bit later. But I just thought it was nice to leap straight into the scene. I am trying to write this a bit like a TV program, TV serial. So this kind of scene would be a nice way to start back an episode, or after a break or something. And at the moment, I'm starting a lot of scenes with a line of dialogue. I don't know if it works really well or not. It's just something I'm doing. It feels right. But I trust in my editor. If he comes across it and he goes, look, you started every scene, every paragraph with a line of dialogue. That's not great. Then I'll be able to change it. So we'll see. And you can see here we've got a bit of a break, and so this is I'm going to be working on this section today, this part. I might not necessarily start here and go all the way through. I do have the bare bones of the story planned out, so you're going to see the next few parts coming up. But Sometimes, I'm not quite sure. I know a scene needs to be slightly longer. I know it seems to be I know it needs to be extended, but I won't really know what to do. So I'll just kind of leave a space. Sometimes I'll do little dot 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 ellipsis or something just to say, look, something else needs to go here, and then we can carry on with the scene. I can just keep going. So you can see here, I've put a page break at the end of this. This just tells me this is one scene. And again, I'm not quite sure how I'm going to organise the scenes in this book, but again, we'll see. This is just a scene, so it's very, very short at the moment, and I know that this scene needs to cover this idea. I mean, it's this paragraph really that we're leading up to and that we're building towards. It's Alice talking to Sarah, and her starting to open up slightly about the school, open up slightly about whether or not she enjoys it. This idea of having friends, this progression of her character, but showing that she's still quite awkward. She's been twice to the school and she's starting to make friends, but she's still nervous about making friends. She's still nervous about opening up. And so here we've got this line. So it says, "Tell me about the school. Did you talk to your friends again?" Alice nodded, looking around at the drawings. There are a few new ones today. And I'll put in there something thematic related to Alice's character development in the drawings, and it'll be significant. And then they'll have a little chat. The challenge with these counselling sessions that I found is, they wouldn't all be really short. I mean, there's one a bit earlier in the book where it's really short. Alice kind of comes in, they chat for about 3 minutes, and then Sarah goes, "Well, I think that's enough for today," and off she goes. So I need to find a way to, intimate that these sessions take a while, and I'm just picking up on the important character bits of their conversation. So that'll be a lot of you'll relate the fact that they talked about this and that, and then at the end, Alice admitted it's not easy. Sometimes I'm not sure what to say, and sometimes any about stuff that I don't want to talk about. Blah blah blah. That's part of having friends, Sarah said, and she learns a lesson about having friends. So I'm not going to work on that right now, because I need to decide what the drawing is going to be. I need to decide how I'm going to structure this first bit of their conversation, and I've had a couple of ideas already. So I'm going to move on. Here we've got a bit of exposition, and then we've got this scene that I wrote in the library at lunchtime. Again, this is a progression of the bullying, and I've been juggling these scenes backwards and forwards. I've been trying to decide how much bullying should go into the book. Also, this bit here, how much of Valeris's book should go into the book. I mean, I sort of had this idea of Alice reading this book and the paragraphs she reads being thematically relevant to what's going on. And also, kind of, we get an idea of Valeris's character, because he is going to be quite an important character later, even though he doesn't turn up until a bit later in the book. And he doesn't play a massive part in this story, but he will become a more important character as things go on, and it kind of quite important thematically, this whole idea of free will versus predestination. He's going to very, very much come into that, and I want to include something in there about religion and faith versus science. So, and then you've got this kind of quite heavy-handed, I guess, bit sentence here where Alice underlines the phrase "nothing is alone." I don't know. I guess it's a bit heavy-handed, but I'll keep it for now. Sometimes I'll do this. I'll highlight something and I'll put a comment on Google Drive and go, "Is this a bit heavy-handed?" And I'll comment to myself, and then my editor can see that comment as well, and he can let me know whether it is heavy-handed or not. And he can let me decide. So you've got this confrontation here with Kiana coming up and the girls. You've got this Alice's kind of thoughts on the situation. You've got her stealing the book, and it's kind of the bullying ties into the story of the Shannon School, and also one thought I had in my mind is that as the book goes on, the bullying becomes a lot more personal. It becomes between Kiana and Alice, and the rest of the girls are kind of left out of it. And I'm still trying to exactly decide what Kiana's motivation is as a character. I know she's a bit one-dimensional at the moment. She is just kind of the big bad. She's the threat. She is the bully. And you know, you never want a character like that. Your characters always have to be rounded people. I mean, even kind of, she's the antagonist of the book in that she provides the pressure for Alice, to undergo that change, that metamorphosis that she needs to undergo later in the book. And you know, she has a confrontation later with Kiana over the bullying, and everything comes to the head, and steam, you know, blows off, and everything kind of resolves itself around that scene. Which, interestingly, in one of the earlier drafts of the book, in fact, in the very first draft I did, that I submitted to my editor and said, you know, do you want to have a look at this and read it through and see what you think? I mean, it was radically different, especially this whole middle bit. The ultimate confrontation between Alice and Kiana happened right at the beginning of the story, and I was looking at that as a way of bringing Alice out of being bullied, and you know, kind of, you know, bringing her through that, and her realizing that she could be independent and she could do things, and her character growing that way. But yeah, we talked about it, and we agreed that actually there needed to be that conflict running through the books, you know, mirroring her character's progression and that kind of descent that she goes through. And she gets to a point, she grows through the book, and she gets to a point where she can resist. And then once she's done that, she is a more grounded character. She's a more confident character. But then, you know, at the end of the book happens, the climax of the book, kind of thematically, comes, and you have the cliffhanger ending that we will get to. And that's what kind of knocks Alice for 6. But I wanted to make Kiana a bit more of a character. Because at the moment she is just a bit of a stereotypical, archetypal bully. She could be anyone, she could be anything. She could be a blob of jelly that's bullying Alice. I mean, we don't know anything about Kiana. So I wanted to maybe drill down into that a bit more, and instead of just having a succession of bullying incidents with Kiana and her friends that got slowly worse, then ended up in this confrontation, you know, I mean, it could be anything, it could be anyone. I wanted to maybe think about Kiana and her character a little bit more. So I'll get around to that. But and we've got that scene. Alice coming home, Mum cooking again, as usual. Every time Alice comes home, Mum is cooking. Then we go back to the book. And then we've got to this bit, and I don't know, I kind of got a bit stuck here, and I think this might be a bit of a dead end. She's reading the book again. You know, and I had all this stuff that... Valeris wrote, and this ties into the more science fiction side of things, and again, the faith versus science idea. And you've got Alice kind of thinking about it, and then you've got this kind of hacky conversation with herself. And I'm not entirely sure what to do with that. You know, a little voice in the back of her mind suggested. I mean, looking at that, I know that's something that I don't really want in there, but I'm not entirely sure what to do about it. So I'm going to leave that again. Dad comes home later than usual. There's another argument. Dad's obviously drunk or something. And then this bit here, I mean, this is a massive jump. This is a massive gap, and this is where everything kind of... this is where I've been completely restructuring the whole story. So I kind of got to this point, you know, and I know what happens. She has this chat with her counsellor, with Sarah, about the school, and then you've got the bullying incident, you know, which helps Alice realise how much she loves being in school. You've got the book being damaged. You know, you've got two things coming into contact with each other. You know, and then she starts reading the book, and I'm kind of thinking, you know, what's going to happen? And I know we've got to get to this point where she comes back to the school again. And she, you know, you've got this bit here. So I'm going to write a note to myself. I might also be a little bit stilted here because I've not done this before. I've not done a kind of video of myself writing. This is all very new for me and quite interesting. You can let me know how this goes. So this is just me saying, look, there needs to be a bit here. In this area, there needs to be something that goes here. And I don't know, I haven't written it yet, but I can get around to that later. And this is the beauty for me about writing in this kind of way of writing different scenes. You know, I can go to a scene that I want to work on, then I can go back and I can sort of fill in the gaps. And you know, if I was just writing a linear story from beginning to end, I would get to, where would I get to? I'd get to here, and I would have stopped, and I'd be sitting there thinking to myself, oh, what am I going to write? You know, what am I going to say? And I wouldn't really get anywhere today. So, but doing it this way, I can skip over problematic areas and I can come back to them once I've got the solution. I can just say, look, I need a scene here, and this is where I'm doing it a bit more like you would do a film or a TV serial or something like that. You know, obviously I've got the luxury of time. You know, I can just completely leave a scene. But you know, when you're editing, you would have had all the footage and you would cut it together, you splice it together, and then you say, oh look, you know, we need a scene here. You'd go back, you'd do some pickup shooting, you'd come back and you'd splice the scene in, and you'd make it flow and you'd make it work. And this is what I'm doing here. Except I don't have to go out and shoot a scene. I can shoot the scene in my head. I can plan the scene. I can decide what needs to go there, and I can stick it back in later. So that's going to go there for now. Yeah, complete with spelling mistakes. Anyway, something like that. So I know something's going to go in there. It's going to be a little bit of just a little bit of a thing. This bit here, this on her own, this is a little bit of a question that I had and my editor had about how long Alice's mum takes her to the school. And I know it's like she's not going every week with mum. Maybe this is the point where, you know, she's been a couple of times and now she goes on her own, and it's kind of, this is, you know, it's her thing, the school is her thing. Anyway, let's see. Then this scene here, this is interesting because initially this was the second week that Alice came back, and I moved it to the third week, which works better in terms of character progression. Originally it was Alice went to the school, got the book, she was bullied, we had the conclusion of the bullying in that week, with the book and everything, and that all getting resolved. And then the next week she came back, and all of a sudden she was so enthusiastic and open and it was too much. It was whole story's worth of character development just happened in a week. So now we've had, you know, she's gone the first week, sussed it out, we had a bit of a mystery between Adam and Olivia. Then we've had the second week, you know, showing you know, the bullying that she undergoes at school and the fact that she wants to go back to the Shannon school. You know, and she's a bit nervous about it. She's not sure, but she wants to see. And then she goes back. You know, you have the session with Olivia, and you know, we see a bit of a mystery. We see something building up there between Adam and Olivia, and something going on. And now we've got the third week, you know, and we've sort of cemented this idea of the bullying encroaching on the Shannon school, and this is pushing Alice to develop, and you know, get to the point where she wants to defend this idea of her time, the Shannon school, blah blah blah. I've got this note which probably belongs up here. Mm, and then you've got, a nice little moment with Ellie and this bit here. I think I've said it's not the dad, it's the uncle. Probably change that. They only broke off when, blah blah blah. Then comes out again. What I want to avoid here is just completely repeating everything that's gone on before. So you've got the first week, she's a bit nervous. Second week she goes back, okay, now she knows what's going on, but she's actually involved in the school and she actually knows a bit more, she's opening up. Third week she comes back. This is what she wants now. This is where she wants to be, and she knows that this is where she wants to be. This is her haven, and this part of the book is her realizing that and cementing herself in this. So I don't want to completely repeat everything that's gone before, but I want everything to seem very relaxed and familiar and happy, and just kind of chilled out, and make it seem like a place where she can really belong. She can't even feel like she doesn't even feel like she belongs at home, because everything's so crazy and messed up. She just escapes to her room at home. She escapes into the book, and here she is in this place. This is her Hogwarts. This is kind of like Hogwarts day school. So it's not a boarding school fantasy where you get to go away and stay in this magical place all the time, but it's this refuge. It's this place that she gets to go every weekend, and she just desperately wants to get back there again. You've got this thing with Clara, this scene that I wrote. She wants the forms filled out. She's got to get back. Clara yells at her a little bit. Where are those forms that I gave you? And I wrote this note: consider what effect such an embarrassing incident would have on her. Maybe it doesn't bother her as much because it's Clara. You could say, well, it doesn't bother her as much because it's Clara. She's kind of surprised by the fact that this doesn't really bother her. That's part of her character development. And then, we're going to have another one-to-one session with Olivia. And here you can see, look, these are kind of the scenes that are written out, and this is the progression now of this part of the story, and this is how it goes. This is her realizing that she belongs there. She gets them at home. It's amazing. And then when she gets home again at the end of that day, there's another big argument, and she just realizes how much she hates being at home. And then you've got this. I was trying to think up bullying scenarios that would really go on in a school. So I'm going to have to think about that one. I don't really know about this. This is all kind of ties into them. Bullying her. I think this is where I can make it more personal. This whole thing with Kiana going after Alice personally, I think that makes it a bit more interesting, and we can, I don't know, there's something going on there. There's a reason why she's going after Alice personally. It's not just girls being girls, and a group of girls have decided to pick on a weaker individual. This is something thematic that I have to think about and see how that ties into the rest of the story. Because you've got your antagonist and you've got your conflict there, and it's kind of a physical antagonist for Alice to knock heads with and to overcome. I mean, really, the story in the end, this particular story is about growth. It's about overcoming things. It's about belonging. And so, that physical antagonist, should be there to have that conflict with the story. But, if it's just a generic conflict, it just seems shoehorned in for the sake of conflict. So I've got to think about how this character can really tie into Alice. And this here would be a nice place to have a real one-to-one between Kiana and Alice. That challenge. So we'll see. Home daddy's gone. Mum is crying. This person notices it first. Shouts at Alice about Michaela. And then she has another session with Sarah. But this can be a one that shows her emotional situation back to the school, and now it's so we've gone back to the school again, and it's another Saturday. Alice is kind of closing back in on herself again. We find that the work helps distract her, helps her to open up a bit. Alice relaxes, and then you get this stinger at the end here, this last scene where Dad has left and Mum really has a go at Alice. And this is Mum's arc. She's repressed all these feelings and things for a long time, and she's never let any of it out on Alice. Dad has stayed with the family after everything that's happened, but in this scene we get that descent. We get that this is kind of the low point for Alice. It's like everything has kind of failed for her. So there's still quite a lot to do in this part. I probably won't do any writing right now. I think that's probably enough. That's just talking you through my process. This is just kind of talking you through, this is how I work. You can see how the next part of the book is developing. So I'll work through this. I'll probably finish this part. I'll probably try and think about how this episode, this section will go. Try and tie it all in together so it does have its own arc, and it's not just kind of a series of scenes that just kind of repeat themselves. There is progression there is character progression. And Alice is different at the end than what she was at the beginning, because at the beginning of this section, she had hope. Maybe things were going to turn around for her, but she's there at the Shannon school and she's enjoying herself, but it doesn't change anything. Life is still rubbish, and she's still not enjoying herself. She's still got problems at home, she's still got problems at school, and so I guess this is the bit where she's really put through the ringer. Then in part 4, let's just jump ahead slightly. Let's see how we start this off. So this is where Alice really kind of, at the beginning of this bit, she was really at a low point. You can see here this whole bit that I've highlighted in yellow. I've just said, it's not great. Look, this whole bit here, the book in her bag, eager to sit and go out. Every day the creeping light in her mind grew brighter and brighter, like the sun come up and miss. I mean, it's with the light came a thought somewhere deep inside her, but emotions that were impressed. I mean, this doesn't work at all. And this whole, she's realized something. She was alone. I mean, that's I just think that's far too melodramatic. What I have to remember when I start on this part here, is that she's at her low point here. She's at her lowest point, and the only thing that she can think to do to escape from all of this, she's realized at the end of the last part, is to just throw herself into the school. And school and real life and everything that kind of blurs, that goes into the background, and the only thing that excites her is going back to this school. We've got here another incident of bullying. I was thinking probably this could be something to do with maybe Facebook. So the bullying has gradually encroached on every part of her life. I don't know whether maybe they turn up outside the Shannon school or something. They found out where she's been going. I don't know. We could have a bit there where she goes on Facebook. Goes on Facebook to make friends with Ellie or something, and you've got that whole cyberbullying thing, because that's something that happens a lot. This is the bullies. This is it making really, really personal. This is Kiana for some reason going after her completely personally. I don't know. That's me just thinking out loud there. We've kind of got two sections here. So session with Sarah, more bullying library, back to the Shannon school. I mean, this is her really, really doubling down on escaping into this world of black holes and continuums and stuff that's far away from everywhere else. And this resonates with this quote I've got at the front here. Inside the event horizon, all parts bring the particle close to the center of the black hole. It's no longer possible for the particles to escape. This is her being kind of drawn in. And I guess what she doesn't realize is that it's Olivia and Adam who are drawing her in, who want her to be involved in the school. And then you've got here, this is everything comes to a head. This is the confrontation, this is the resolution of the conflict. And then, and dad comes home and mom comes home, and school's changed. There's a scene in the office talking with Sarah, opening up about the bullying, starting to thaw a little bit, back to the Shannon school, and sort of, there's a kind of a sense of relief, a sense of release, a sense of belonging, family. Things are kind of getting back together. And you have this nice little chat with Olivia in one of their one-to-one sessions, and Olivia asks about time and what is it, and continuum, yeah, continuums, and time travel and all this kind of thing. And this kind of brings, brings in that kind of that whole thing. This bit, I've got no idea. This is passage of time. I don't know whether I can condense all this. Probably this can just be all condensed into the same day. And then you've got all this. I mean, this is all stuff that this is all stuff that I wrote that went in earlier. But I'm just going to have to completely redo all of this now. This, very, very important scene here where Alice asks if you could go back in time and stop some time, would you do it? And if it's like, yes, I would, like a shot. And then the session with Sarah, she opens up about what happened with Michaela, her twin sister. And we have Sarah. We realise that something is up with Sarah. And maybe one more scene with Adam and Olivia. I had this idea that every part should finish with a scene with Adam and Olivia that kind of advances the background story of everything that's going on with her. I'm just looking ahead now. I'm trying to get the story straight in my head. This is a good way of thinking about it. When a particle reaches the singularity, it's crushed into infinite density, and its mass is added to the total of the black hole. So we've had the conflict and the resolution, but there's a revelation to come. It's like she has gone on her journey and now she's ready. She's ready, she's prepared to face the madness that is to come. And we've got this whole idea of the Christmas Club, and Valeris turns up, and then you've got all sorts of craziness going on. This is quite a long section, but that's the last section, and it's quite important. And then I have an epilogue which I'm not going to show you, which is this one here. So I'm kind of getting the feel of the general structure of the story, and this is how I work. I mean, yeah, I've used up enough time anyway. I've used my lunch hour, so this is all good for me to get back in here and think about this. But it's good because I can see from here, from this point up until the point where, and up until in the end of the story, I can see the beats, I can see the progression, I can see it happening, I can see her character developing and changing and getting to the point where I want her to be. So it's just going to be filling in the details and making sure that kind of transition is smooth and it's an interesting story to end with. But anyway, I hope that was interesting. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you want to see any more of these. I may just do a silent video at some point where I just record myself typing and writing, and you can see me doing that, and you can sort of see my process there. But I always think it's fascinating to look into other writers' processes. So I thought it might be interesting for you guys to look into my process. I mean, not blowing my own trumpet or anything, but that's how I do it. So I hope you guys enjoyed that and carry on enjoying the story.